Hi guys, Zahir Anwari here, co-founder of Sublime Trading, here with your daily update for the UK and US indices for Thursday the 9th of April. If you're new to these daily updates, then I recommend starting with the recording that's pinned to the top of our Facebook page so that you get a good understanding of exactly what I go through in these daily recordings. Now, apologies, this is going up a little bit later than normal. I usually like to do this before the US markets open. They've only just opened, so let's catch up with market action so far today. This is our three-screen setup. We have the monthly in the top left, the weekly in the top right, and the daily chart here at the bottom. Starting with the monthly time frame for the FTSE 100, we can see that price in the month of April is still finding support at the low of February 2016. If we move across to the weekly time frame, we can see that price is below the 200 and the 50 simple moving averages. We are seeing bullishness in recent weeks. This week so far, if I just open up the weekly time frame and if I just grab the measurement tool, we can see a move of around 7%, just over 7% so far this week. So it'll be interesting to see whether we do end bullish by the end of the week, or whether the bears will come in and start pushing price back down. But so far we are looking bullish this week, and we can see that in more detail on the daily time frame. Here is the low of February 2016, which is acting as support. We can see bullishness coming in. If we get a break above this resistance area here, then we can expect to see price move towards that 50 simple moving average. If it clears that, then the 200 simple moving average. For now, we're going through a bit of a consolidation, a bit of a mini consolidation, so we need to see price either start breaking resistance levels to the upside or start breaking support levels to the downside. Okay, if we move across into the US market, starting with the Dow Jones, we can see, starting with the monthly time frame, April is bullish and price is now currently trading above the low of last year, which is acting as support. If you move across to the weekly time frame, again, if I open up the weekly time frame, we can see we've had bullishness come in this week so far. Price is now testing the 200 simple moving average as a potential area of resistance. What we now want to see is price either close above this level to suggest further strength, or price may find an area of resistance and then move back to the downside. If we look at price action so far, we're seeing a move to the upside of almost 10%, so just under 10% bullishness so far this week. If we come down to the daily time frame, we can see price finding supports here around the low, the low of March, low of last month, and we can see we've seen strength since then. Price is now very much above the 20 simple moving average. We've had a gap up. This little candlestick here is a gap up at the start of today, so we now want to see whether that adds momentum to the upside towards the 50 simple moving average, or whether price comes down to fill the gap and potentially we start seeing weakness into next week. If we move on to the S&P 500, we can see the S&P 500 also found support at the low of last year. We've had bullishness come in so far in April. If we move across to the weekly time frame, this week we've seen price actually move through the 200 simple moving average. So we need to let price dictate whether we're actually going to get a close above this level to suggest further strength, or whether price is going to find some kind of resistance and then a move back to the downside. The fact that price is now back above the 200 simple moving average on the weekly is actually significant, as this is an early sign of bullishness. If we come down to, if we stay on the weekly time frame, if I just open up the weekly time frame, we can see strength of around 8% so far this week on the S&P 500 on the weekly time frame. If we come down to the daily time frame, again we've had a gap up, and price is heading towards potentially that 50 simple moving average. If it breaks the 200 simple moving average as well, then we have alignment between the weekly and the daily, and this is a very strong sign that we could potentially be seeing strength back towards that all-time high. If we move on to the Nasdaq, also starting with the monthly, we can see price is bullish. It's found an area of support and the bulls are very much coming in. If we come down to move across to the weekly time frame, now price didn't actually break through the 200 moving average on the weekly. Instead, it found support. We've seen strength to the upside, and if I open up the weekly time frame, we can see again significant move to the upside so far this week, which has taken price through the 50 simple moving average. If we look at price movement in terms of percentages, we've seen a move of over 6% so far to the upside. And if we come down to the daily time frame, this is now also trading above the 200 simple moving average on the daily time frame. It is potentially finding resistance at the 50 simple moving average. So what we now want to see is whether we do see strength through the 50 simple moving average and strength back to the all-time high, or whether price finds an area of resistance and a move back to the downside. These bullish moves that we're starting to see in the market are significant. If we continue to see these resistance levels broken, these moving averages broken, and price move back towards the all-time high, then we could potentially be in the early signs of a recovery from this correction due to the coronavirus, the fear around the coronavirus. We can now be seeing an early sign of this correction back to the upside and the recovery in the market, and we could potentially start looking for bullish opportunities. A little bit early, still a little bit early. We still need to see the Dow Jones follow in terms of the bullishness and the moving averages, but the S&P and the Nasdaq certainly are looking very, very interesting. We'll be keeping a close eye on the indices, and that will then guide us on what kind of decisions we want to make moving forward. We do have Easter this weekend, guys. The markets will be closed tomorrow. On Monday, the UK market will also be closed, but the US market will be open. Expect low liquidity on Monday. That's me for this week, guys. Please like, comment and share this video. Please get this out and share this with as many people as you can. Let's really start getting people's financial literacy up there and on point so people can start making solid investment decisions. And I will see you next week. Have a lovely long weekend ahead.